am ready to call the meeting to order for the Urban Forestry Committee, July 18th meeting, and take a roll call. We'll start down at the end.
Kenneth, here.
Jeanette.
Carol Hannah.
Joe Scott.
Okay, we have 4 people here. We have a quorum, so we should be able to take a look at the May minutes and when we're ready, if someone can make a motion to approve them or if you see any changes.
I don't believe I have a copy of the minutes.
Well, see, that's why you need to look on your computer. You want to take a little?
No, that's okay. I'll just, oh, that's not the minutes, is it? Or is it?
Yeah.
Just oops, roll up, right?
Oh.
I'm a fast reader, but not fast.
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Okay, got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Good job. Okay, so we have some old business. I will turn over to Denise to go through quickly.
Right, okay, yep, we just kind of got some updates, recaps here. All here, there was 3 of us that were able to attend the forum that was held by the Indiana DNR on June the 4th. This was in part to recognize all the Tree City USA communities for the state of Indiana. There's actually 65
Really?
that were awarded this past year for our state. In combining all of those communities, there's an expenditure of $25 million statewide per year that's put into tree maintenance, new tree plantings, tree care, education, outreach programs, and so forth.
All the things that we report
Yes,
on.
all
Yeah,
the,
all
yes,
those things.
that's
Yeah.
correct, yes. And so I thought that was very encouraging, for our state, very exciting. There are 6 tree campus K through 12 programs, as well as, and we had received some information on that recently, but I did not know that there's actually 16 of the higher education programs. So that would be your colleges and your universities for the state. So I thought that that was really some neat statistics to hear for our state. And I just from what I gather with the redevelopment of that program for the Indiana DNR and the Division Forestry group there, I think some wonderful things are going to come down the line between Jacob Rose and Rachel there in that department. They've actually added in 2 new staff for grant coordination and program coordination as well in the past 6 months. So I think it's just going to get a stronger and stronger program and presence throughout the state. But at that, Dr. Lau, if you want to chime in anything, Joe Scott, if there's any key takeaways, things that really impressed you, would love for you to share with the group tonight. We did have a presentation that's provided by John Easley. He is the city forester for the city of Noblesville. So he did a really great job. He put a nice presentation together for the group, sharing different projects that they've done in the past with the Community and Urban Forestry Grant, the Inflation Reduction Act grant that just started this past year with that DNR department. And they have planted somewhere between 50 trees, I think, for the IRA grant, and then 80 trees then for their past grants that they did and participated in. But with that, grant, they also included tree inventory, which I thought was pretty impressive. They inventoried 22,000 trees. So
Wow.
we have a little bit over 2,800 trees, and while they have 22,000
Wow.
trees for the city of Noble. That is including all of the residential subdivisions, the commercial
Oh.
development, and the public street and the park trees. That was a pretty big, time consuming project, I am sure. So, as they have developed, he is the lead of that. He is also what I thought was a really neat aspect, which works nicely with our small planning department that I'm a part of the planning conversations. We help out with the landscape development for commercial and residential properties, the tree species selection and so forth. But he is even at a greater level, more involved with the layout, some of the landscaping of that, and then some post-care as well. They host some HOA meetings as far as care for trees in the common grounds, as well as doing some small canopy grants that is offered for the city. So if an individual is wanting for the residential on their own residential property as well as commercial property, so it wouldn't be a tree that even the town or the city would be responsible for maintaining. But if they would like to be able to get some free trees, then they apply for it online, and they've been doing, I think they said about 5 years. They've been doing that now.
So do they have like a specific kind of trees? I mean, are they all like,
And kind of native trees.
yeah,
I was actually surprised that, and it makes good sense. They said that they had to kind of go above and beyond some of those native trees. They even allow some trees that are non-native just to be able to create a higher diversity in their tree stock. And then as well, they are limited. You've got to try to get those small trees for those street trees or those that are in close proximity to sidewalks or utilities. And when those come into play, then you need those salt tolerant type trees. So the list of those trees just get more and more narrow. So they've actually do allow non-native trees in certain places, right place, right tree kind of, concept. They've been a little bit more flexible, and they found that even some of those non-native trees have been successful over time. But if they can keep to a native tree, then they will. They said that a lot of their park systems have been re-educated as far as trying to prevent that volcano mulching. That's been a hot topic in the last couple of years.
so is that the kind of hard stuff that looks like you see it a lot?
So as far as like the mulch
Uh,
product,
Uh-huh,
it's actually it's just the process
Uh-huh.
and the practice.
oh, really?
So instead of having it kind of flush and right underneath the tree base,
Uh-huh,
and then coming up kind of at a swell and more level with the ground, a lot of developers are going up 2-3 feet up into the tree. And then it just
That's not
runs
good.
off, it
Yeah.
factoring down into the root
Yeah.
system when the rainfall comes down, and yes, so
huh,
they're
Yeah, there's a
educating.
there's a junction between the root and the trunk. So you don't want to bury that junction. If you bury that junction, a lot of time you kill the tree.
yeah,
So you have to put a mulch around it, but not bury the junction between the trunk and the root. You can see the junction between the two.
I thought it was interesting. I think I'm remembering this right. That Mr. Easley is certified arborist
Yes, he is.
employed by the city of
That is right,
Noblesville.
yes. Mhm.
And so his expertise in that area is helpful in all the
Yeah.
different planning stages they have.
Yes, and he has a team that he manages, and he said that then they have one person that is just strictly for inventory. They go around, that's their full-time job, is to keep up with the conditions, the maintenance needs, what it needs to be removed, trimmed, any kind of treatment. So yes, so they've got a really good department. And then the city of Carmel also has, I think, 5 or 6 on their team as well. He actually had offered for us if we wanted to come up and look at, some of the trees that they plant in their placemaking areas and their town areas. So I thought that was very nice of them. And so I thought maybe when it comes time to developing up more towards the north and on the town property, that would be great to go visit.
Yeah, probably learn a lot.
Yes. The, another thing that they educate, on their website is, why certain trees are not desirable and what trees are desirable. So, that is one of my goals I've written down. I want to check that out and take a look at it. Last week at the farmer's market, I just happened to have 2 individuals ask if we have a list, and I can send them the approved tree list, but it's a list that I want to expand to provide more, those trees that we allow for our developers. We want to make sure that they're aware of those options as well.
It's kind of amazing, like when I first came on the tree committee, the trees that were considered good street trees and how much that's changed in that, however long it's been in that amount of time.
Absolutely.
And then the trees that they planted, street trees that they planted years and years ago, which are, they are definitely the wrong, like the white maples where the roots don't go down very far and all that makes the sidewalks then go up and all that stuff that,
The root system that
Yeah.
won't be able to be contained in a 3 to 5 foot grass lawn.
right,
Under utility line. I think that we've all learned a lot in the last 50 years.
absolutely.
And we're starting to see where those trees that at mature height, they just aren't fitting in those areas. And we just had a tree limb that fell and caused some damage to a home. And we're gonna have that, no matter, what all precautions that we follow and practices that we, put into place. But as much as we can prevent and planting a small tree in those public right of ways are definitely the way we need to.
So it was a street tree that fell on my house.
There at John and Water Street, yes. It was a street tree on the west side of John Street, the large limb. The tree's gonna have to be removed because it showed decay in the inside of the tree. It fell across the road and it hit the roof and the gutter system right there. They just had been renovated.
Oh,
It's
no.
a very nice gentleman though. Town's gonna take care of it. He's gonna get an estimate. We'll get that. But yeah, so we're starting, and I was gonna mention this later on, but I'll mention it now. We have probably lost 4 large maples this year.
Really?
So I'm afraid that, good news is that may open up to where we can start allowing some more maples, especially for commercial developments that they're private trees, not a street tree, but a private tree. However, they're just seeing the end of their life cycle. And those are large trees. They anywhere from minimum probably 2, but up to 4 feet in diameter on these tree benches. So it's been a couple of big projects for our electric department, our street department guys, getting those cut down, placed out. And we've got a couple that plant growth management, they're going to, between them and our electric department, they're going to decide who needs to take those trees over, because then we got power lines that are right there. And our guys are really good at what they do, but they're not in the tree service. So knowing where those limbs are going to fall and what would be the best way to attack it, especially in those tight areas in our residential downtown areas. We've got shallow yards and close proximity to the street. So we've got a few of those that we're going to be taking.
We had a neighbor just to the west of us who cut down that had that large maple tree cut down last week.
Yes.
And it, in the past, had dropped a big limb last year on their house. But they had it completely
was a
taken
huge-
down. That was a huge tree.
Yeah.
It could have got our house, their house, and Steve and Sherry's house on the corner,
Yeah.
depending on which way
Which
it
way,
went and if
yeah.
it split or,
Mhm.
so we were all very thankful to see that one come down.
Yeah, it was massive, and I think Dependable Tree was out
Mhm.
there, and they were out there a long
All
time.
day.
It
Yeah.
was- Yeah,
They-
it was a big project. Yeah. Now, it is sad that we're starting to see some of those maples come down.
Yeah.
But, we also had a presentation provided by, Drew is his last name, Will Drews, and he's from the Indiana DNR as well. He's from a different division, and he works with invasive tree pests. We got a lot of scientific information.
Yeah,
It
a
was,
lot.
A lot of specialty type pests. Thankfully, these pests have only really been intercepted. They said there wasn't really in the landscape, but now I do know as our ash trees, we had that emerald ash
Yeah.
borer that has been in the landscape in the state of Indiana. I have heard, I don't recall if he mentioned this or not, but there's been a reduction, a decrease in where they're seeing the impacts on the ash trees here in the last couple of years. But that was probably been our most prevalent pest here for the state. The other ones have just been spotted more in the south or in the north of our state. We really didn't hear of any that
Mhm.
were in our area.
I know he spoke about the spotted lanternfly, and I remember this from everything he said. Here's the thing I remember. That feeds on trees of heaven. So he said, if you can control those trees of heaven, because they can be kind of,
They just kind of come up
Yeah.
all over the place.
and they have, from what I know, somebody's got one. They say the root system of it can go clear across your yard. So it's hard to get rid of them.
Get rid of them.
But I remember he said that's what those pests feed on.
He was very intelligent. He did tell he knew his field for sure. As far as the two presentations, Joe or Dr. Loud, do you have anything that stood out to you that, there was a project too in Noblesville. It was called the Reimagine Pleasant Street. And it was kind of
Mhm.
right around kind of like a railroad area, and they just kind of turned it into a placemaking gathering space and incorporated some medians with trees, and so I thought that was pretty cool to see some pictures of that. So that's something you probably, would enjoy Googling, and should have thought about getting a picture of that and sharing.
Yeah, there's all different kind of oak tree and the different variety that go from anywhere from 50 feet, about 50 feet to 100 feet. So for the tree planting along the street, maybe we need to select a tree that is don't go 100 foot.
Right.
Yeah.
That they go like a 50 foot,
Probably
50
to
feet.
25 feet.
yeah, 25, 50 feet type of thing.
Yeah, that
So
is for
the-
sure.
I mean, there's like 12 different type of oak tree.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Agree. Then we had a nice roundtable discussion. We all had, introduced ourselves and, kind of, what role we play with urban forestry for our individual communities. But there was a lot of nonprofits that were there, that it seems as if a lot of the communities, what urban forestry efforts, they're taken on by nonprofits in that community. It's not really municipal driven. So that was interesting to learn. And we had one, it was called Community Orchard, and I think that was Maryville or kind of up north.
Up there, that way somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere up close, and they have, it's like a community vineyard, and they can come in and get produce and come in and have a, you know, picnic and just kind of eat the vegetables and whatnot, you know, while they're there. They ask not really to take much with you as you go, but they incorporate a lot of community work days, and then they utilize internships, several of the communities. Also, I think that Community Orchard was one that brought up the working groups that were specialized and seemed to work well with their programming. And then one of the key things is that just every goal, objective, project be reflective of your community and what your community was looking for and what was important to them. And then also there was mention of a non-reverting tree fund. The community, I think it was Permal, that they utilize its funding through their street department, which for our purposes, we will be funded, any of our program efforts and so forth will be funded by the electric department. Because it falls in line with the utility easement and that program. So that is where our programming funds will come through in 2025. We've been given the verbal that we can probably, you know, $1,500, $2,000 start, you know, we can use for our outreach, you know, each year. But that non-reverting tree fund is basically, if you don't spend it, it stays in that fund. So it's a little bit different than kind of a general fund. Those funds will remain there and they can keep chipping away and kind of building, you know, if you do not utilize it. That was encouraged. And then also landscape inspections. That would be for commercial. I know we do have our unsightly premise ordinance that our building inspector keeps track of, but this goes a little bit above and beyond. So we'll be looking at just maintenance of your, say, your entrances to a residential subdivision, or say community health network as they build all of their landscape and their trees and their shrubs. I think it was about 400, 500 total combined for the entire site. But it was a part of their planning and zoning ordinance that there was a code enforcement aspect of it for the landscaping. Of course, these are larger cities that do this, but I thought that was something that, you know, keep in mind in the future. That's all I have. Is anyone have anything want to add or anything on that piece? Our next kind of tour and event that our board took place was our Days Arboretum. So I would love to kind of open it up and let you know that Jeanette, you weren't able to join us that day, but I'd love to hear everyone and what things that stood out to them. I was so impressed with Stephen Hayes. He's the executive director. He is part of the family. He is the grandson of the individual Stanley Hayes that had started it back in 1950. He had started just seeing that a lot of the forests over the state of Indiana were being taken up by new development, and that was a big concern for him. So he had started purchasing lots around this area in Richmond and just kept buying land to preserve the wooded areas down there. And then it just ended up turning into incorporating a 7-acre 800 tree arboretum over the time. And then there was a dairy farm back in the late 1800s, a building, and I'll show you that here in a second. And they turned that into eventually the nature center. So it was a place for education about just nature, the environment, and the trees. And he gave us a great tour of the grounds. You'll see here what he took us around on a, basically it was a truck trailer with benches put on top, but it was a beautiful day and
Hot. It was so
it
hot
was
and
hot.
humid.
Yes.
It
But
really
when
was
we
hot.
went into the wooded area, it was so cool
It was
and
probably what, 10, 15?
Oh, yeah.
minutes
At least,
tour?
yeah. It was
I forget, where was that located at?
Richmond.
In Richmond.
Richmond, okay.
Oh, it was beautiful. That middle picture there is of the 7-acre arboretum. They had the drive that goes through. So Jeanette, it's called auto tour. So throughout this whole wooded acres, there was about 300 of the 466 acres are actually utilized space and accessible space to the public. His home is actually on the grounds as well.
Really?
Yes, and we got to do that. They are living in a, I say newer home, but I would say maybe 1950s at homes, but they are renovating. It was kind of a Spanish cottage type home there.
Very, it was built by his grandfather,
Right,
right?
built by his
The original
grandfather.
home built there, yeah, it was awesome.
And they were renting it for a long time, and now they're slowly renovating for him and his family, Stephen Hayes' family. And so him and his wife run these grounds. And then he has siblings that are a part of the board, that come in for their meetings. And they're very well organized, very well thought out in their operations and in their efforts. They do a lot of partnerships, it seems, with like-minded groups and organizations, and then not only does that help them out with their financial fundraising efforts, but then their programming. Well,
Sounds like they really do have it organized nice.
Yeah.
And he seems very intentional. He doesn't just add a project and another project, but he makes sure that it's the right project and that it
The
gets
right
planned
time, yeah.
and everything. And because one note I made is he doesn't rush into new ideas. He lets it
Okay,
kind
they,
of works in. And then
Plans it out.
plans it
that
out,
it's
yeah.
Most effective.
So it's successful, yeah. And does a lot with other nonprofits, the community.
That's great.
Community involved.
Yeah.
They come and do volunteer work
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
spread mulch or whatever, or,
I
Yeah,
remember
they're
the
very well.
pollinator group
yeah.
had an area there that then they would come
Yeah.
and help maintain
Maintain
that, but
that,
if they
yeah.
would draw people to the
Mhm.
area because of what they had done within his property.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of individuals have a lot of passion, and they have, causes that are important to them, and he said this gives them an opportunity to be able to, put that, to practice and be able to give to others, and
Is that him
it,
in the
yeah,
picture?
back here.
Well, and then that it's open to the public. It doesn't cost anything to come in and hike or walk or go to the,
So how do they get an income? I mean, what do they do to,
Back in 1959, they created a foundation. So then they do either grants or fundraisers each year. They'll do a couple of those. And then there is, I don't think it's a huge fee, but if you want to take your cars through, you get like a token. I don't know if it's like $2 or
Yeah.
something like
yeah,
that.
for some of the
that you
programs, I
pay
think
to be able to go
they
through
charge
some
for them.
activity programs, but a
But
lot of it.
they have what, like 3 maintenance people for that, for all of that acreage, and it looks beautiful.
It's
I mean,
immaculate,
the
isn't it?
property is well maintained,
Yeah,
and they
It's the
hardly have
individual.
any employees. I don't know how they
Yeah.
do it.
and they weren't even full-time, they only worked
Yeah.
what, 3 days a week or
Yeah,
something?
something like that.
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday or something, and
Because even along the road, the sides are all mowed down and the trails, don't have.
they never
overgrown.
saw any
Wow.
trees laying down or.
I think, wasn't there a hiking group or a biking group that does some maintenance on the trails?
Yeah, there's a bike trail
Dirt
there.
bike, dirt bikes.
Dirt bikes.
Yeah.
We didn't even get over to
That was on the
that
other
side.
side.
Yeah.
and how many acres is it?
466.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, I know, it's
About
just,
300.
but yeah, it's very
Wow.
very
Because-
well.
That is 466, that would put it larger than our apartments.
Mhm.
I think we're about what, 286?
After the new property, yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, that did, yeah.
That
did
adds
probably
some,
didn't
but-
include that, yeah. But, it was very, very impressive, and he seems so open to share,
Yeah.
information.
Mhm.
He wanted anyone that, that he meets with to be as successful as they are, and any information. And really, I went into it thinking I'm gonna learn about arboretum and caring of the trees and kind of the approach of what they've done over the years, what worked, what didn't. But he shared things as far as security measures, signage, even, just even quick tips on that. From, that they plant in the fall, they even focus on even tree saplings, seedlings, and smaller caliber trees over larger trees that have proved that the smaller trees actually catch up many times to those larger 2-3 inch caliber trees. They shared about product for caging of the trees to protect it from the wildlife. And then when they start out small like that. So let's see, what else did they?
He shared things about organizational
Yeah,
Yeah.
tips that have been successful for them.
yeah.
Yeah, they
And-
have a very good, he has a very effective volunteer program on the website
Mm-hmm.
that people can sign up on the website to volunteer. And then on the form they fill out, they have the background of the people so that the people are committed to come in and volunteer and do the work, and also the background, they know what they know, so they can organize it
Yeah.
based on their background.
Yes.
And
yes,
then that
exactly.
just
Yeah, their skill
Each
set.
person that volunteers, tells somebody else, so the word just gets out to the community
Yeah,
then.
they have a very, I think we need to put a volunteer website on our website. So, I mean, the form they use, we should use that, we should use the form they have. Because that form is not just that form is very effective and organized. And then the background is almost like a background check.
Mhm.
Oh,
But then you've got an inventory of people's talents that you
Yeah.
can
right.
say, well, I need somebody to do this. Let me see who I've got on my list
Yeah.
already that
So,
knows something about that.
so if we use that form and put it on the website,
Yeah.
with the town website, people will send it in, then we can organize stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And I think he even said, sometimes all you have to do is just ask, either whether it's fundraising, it's volunteers, the people are wanting to give, whether they're, what he said, their time, their skill, or their finances. And you give them the opportunity, they will respond. And he kind of stressed about, start small, but you don't want to miss the boat, just like Carol was saying, he was very intentional and he thought things through. And he was even to his board on a day-to-day basis, he had the who, what, when type thing. And it was a list of projects. He had one for the programming, but then he also had another separate board for his grounds crew, a different project. And then who was supposed to complete this task and when they're going to complete
If he
it.
said they did that weekly or daily, the
Well,
morning,
he said it was monthly, and
Monthly,
then he
okay.
would keep track of the dates on when that they needed to be completed.
And a
or,
big
you know,
dry
if they
erase
couldn't,
board,
they'd
yeah.
adjust it, and they were big dry erase boards. It probably was the width of this wall here,
Mhm.
back in his office where all his staff worked. And then probably as long as this,
Yeah.
white one, he had a green one. And all things, literature, different programs. He said, I might not even be able to look into it for another 5 years, but I've got it. I've got it posted there, so that way I think, okay, now it's time to get back to it. I want to check into it. He'll have it there to bring. So,
there's a picture
yeah.
further down, that's a picture of the balanced scorecard that he showed us.
Here. Yeah, these are the signages that he, worked with. I'll come back. Let's see here to that. Was that in the last screen, I think, here?
There it is.
Yeah, this right here. Yeah.
And that's funny, because on the way home, Carrie was telling me she had just been to a nonprofit seminar
That used that?
that talked about that, for
Wow.
nonprofits.
Okay.
She said, that's exactly what we
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
for her, for the
Yeah, that vision and
business she works with.
the vision and strategy board, it was customer relations, finances, and then
Education,
education, and then
education,
internal control.
And
type
community and
strategy.
community outreach.
Yeah, yeah, he was, like you said, very thorough. I mean, he provided us a presentation as well when we
Yeah.
sat down and had
Mhm.
lunch and.
Yeah,
Listen
he
to
spent a
them.
lot more time than I expected.
Me too.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Sorry,
He
I
said
missed
they
that.
have, there, what was that in the clearing? What was in that clearing? A fountain?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
he said that people
Uh-huh.
come to have weddings at that area. It was so pretty.
that's on
Yeah,
that
it was
bottom
just-
left right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can see
Fountain
the-
donated or in memory of his grandfather.
Yeah, and then there were some areas that were just let grow wild for the wildlife, you know, just native
And they had signs to
Wildflowers and-
reflect that and.
grasses.
Nice.
Yeah, the less mowing you do, the more wildlife you have.
Yeah.
Right, exactly right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so they had areas that were just
You know, volunteer thing. Have you guys noticed that on Angle Road? There was a older gentleman. Almost every day, he just drive up and down the road picking up trash.
Really?
I have no idea who that is. So maybe the town should find out who he is and recognize his effort keeping the road clean
I
Well,
bet there's a lot with all the games and the.
within the city limit, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
on the Angle Road.
I'll
300.
See if anyone knows who that is.
We have a member in Friends of Falls Park. I'm trying to think of their last name. And they have, even before they joined the organization, whenever they come into the park, they don't just come to the park to enjoy. They always bring what they need to fill trash bags and do something just because that's what they
Oh,
want to do.
I know.
I'm thinking of their
Yeah,
name,
I
I
know.
know
who you're
it.
talking
Those are
about.
part of the volunteer thing, not being recognized.
Mhm.
So if we recognize
Yeah,
them,
yeah, yeah,
they'll
it is.
encourage more people
Yeah.
do the same thing.
Mhm.
Right,
So keeping the city a lot cleaner.
right. It's a good idea. Very good idea.
Jeanette, on that top right, you can't really see, but that's the trees there in the arboretum. And those have little white tags actually on the tree itself. They said that they just use like a nail screw, kind of keep it loose, but they
Yeah.
said that it doesn't harm the tree. That they'll just screw that into the bark, and to identify or label. Or then the other is then this top right, the black post there, they started kind of going towards that.
So it doesn't
or
hurt
labeling
the, it doesn't
That's
hurt
what
the
they
tree.
said.
Yeah,
And
they
that's-
said
that was
xylem foam, they said
surprising
it
to me,
doesn't
too.
interrupt that. I was kind of
Just
surprised.
into
Yeah.
the bark and
It's
not
Just
into
into the
the.
bark, like
Yeah.
a tag in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's something to,
He said,
yeah,
small little
yeah,
tag.
that's something to
And
remember.
I thought it was kind of him too. He said some of the newer signs for special landmarks and like with that arch and so forth, they'd have some history pieces to it.
Mhm.
You have what they call an audio. I'm just going blank here, but a kind of audio tour type program.
Was it on a
where
QR
you
code
can QR code and you read it, you can
to your
hear
phone?
the,
Oh.
someone speaking about it. So I thought that was a neat feature that they just added.
Wow.
And then those posts down there, of course, they're treated posts, but he said that trying to get an auger and digging in a hole, he said what they find is just that the green metal base down there at the bottom,
Uh-huh.
it just has kind of a stake at the bottom connected, and they use that to anchor it down into the ground. So, you know, just little, even, you know, quick maintenance tips and, you know, things to make things easier. I thought was really kind
What
of
a
him
good idea.
to share. He shared a lot of those things. And then that's a picture of him, and then that is his father, Stephen Senior, Hayes. And so he's then the son of Stanley Hayes, the one who kind of.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
Sound like it was a great trip.
Yeah.
It's really worth the drive over there. If you
Yeah.
just want to do something for an afternoon or a morning,
Uh-huh.
I mean, well, it was an hour and a half to get there.
Yeah, maybe not even that.
Maybe not that.
Yeah. And then this here is kind of some pictures of some of the activities that they provided. The inside one of the large trees, they took down there to the top right, and then they had like a butterfly garden and little house, and then little play area. Everything was just very natural, kind of with the natural landscape. And then the bottom left, that is the old dairy barn. And they've converted into the nature
really?
center. It doesn't show up real well. I probably should. That's one of the
Yeah,
Here,
or here
but,
you can see
uh,
clear.
But
Oh,
in that
yeah.
building, they had all kinds of activities for the kids to participate,
Getting some
educational
information on the
activities.
wall and.
Yeah, that's kind of near.
Got kind of a little play area for
Yeah.
younger kids to go in.
Maybe I can talk my sister into going to that sometime.
Yeah.
Take your great grandchildren too.
Yeah, heck yes.
Now, who wants to share about the tree in the top left? You remember what that tree was?
I do.
Yeah.
The NASA tree,
Uh-huh.
he was contacted by phone
Mhm.
from NASA. That they had these trees, moon trees,
They
they
call
call
it a
it.
moon tree.
And these trees
The seeds
had,
had
the
been in
seeds
outer
had
space.
orbited
Yeah,
the moon,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they
Uh-huh.
were giving them, but there's certain criteria you have to agree to the way you will plan it, take care of it, present it. And so they've done
Have
that,
they
so we,
fenced around the
Yeah, so
base?
they've got that cage and then there's a bigger fence around that.
Mhm.
And I can't remember what kind of tree it is.
It's a
though.
sweet gum.
A sweet gum?
I was
Okay.
gonna say,
yeah.
that looks
Looked
like a sweet gum.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
farm
so they,
fencing
yeah,
all around that.
that. So they call it a
with the
moon
gate.
tree because the seeds went in.
That is so cool.
There were only,
And if you
how many,
would-
like
Like
40?
40, I think.
I
the whole
think that they
country.
not
did,
very-
that's
yeah.
all they did, they contacted his arboretum.
And they have a map. If you go to the Hayes Arboretum website and you go to that section, you can click on it. Now, their tree isn't on that map yet, but you can tell people are starting to get locates and then putting the
Where they have
information. I don't know if NASA does that or if the individual has to log that into that information in and picture or whatnot. So, yeah, it was really, really cool. So, but, all right.
That sounds.
Anything else that anyone wanted to share? I think it's gonna be great
Got
for
some
our
good
planning,
ideas. Yeah.
for a mini arboretum here in the town. ArborNet, he encouraged us to get certified as an actual arboretum trees in. There's different levels. So the first one would be level 1 is like up to 25 trees. So I think that's very doable for us. And I was sharing with Carol as well. We are from the amphitheater project. They will be eventually getting some funding for design on that. But when it comes to the landscaping, they're going to include our committee to be able to have some input on that. So we'll
Good.
landscape
Yeah.
architect and help with some layout and CC choices, and then try to incorporate, see where would be best for the mini arboretum. One thing too, I thought was a thought that kind of changed my thinking. I was thinking, well, it'd be nice to have a arboretum with a trail that kind of goes through it. And he explained that you really want to minimize your conflicts. So you don't want too close to a trail. You can have a trail that can go through it, but you want to give it space to where then your trees aren't going to compromise kind of what we're seeing here. Because you want some larger trees.
I just had a thought,
Yeah.
maybe we should share their Facebook page on our Facebook page and encourage people to visit that arboretum.
In our picture, we did, I put a link to it, but we'll keep doing it. It'll be good, yeah, that, I can't remember when, it was sometime when I got back. I can't remember, sometime in June, but yeah, we'll do that, we'll share it,
It's a great place to take kids.
yeah.
Okay.
That door is unlocked. Okay, anything else on that? Okay.
That's good.
Certified arborist update, pretty much she's been here about 8 times this year so far. Tanya had gotten ill in the month of June, so she wasn't here during that month for the most part. But she's back, she's doing well. So right now she's completed about 200 trees. So she's working on completing the park trees. There were some that she needed to wrap up from last year. And then she's a little bit north of State Street, so she went and finished the area of John, East Street, and East Central Way area. So that area is kind of where she's at right now, and then she's going to go to the south side of State Street, but on the east side, between Pendleton Avenue and 67.
Okay.
Yeah, so Everything's going well. She's also doing a great help to us as far as we've had a couple of trees which sent her out to assess to see if they need to be removed or not. There were where limbs have been fallen, but yet the tree still looks like that it's doing okay. Where she'll give us like, say, maybe in a year, let's reassess and so forth. And then also seeing where there's significant sidewalk damage, she's giving us a list on those as well.
Send your stuff.
Okay, get it, so,
K through 12 program, these are, I'm not gonna go through this as things, information that we had, some good guidance from Bryce Patz. But update on that, I had sent out 2 emails at the end of the school year after our May meeting to Doug Johnson, he's the science teacher there that Gary Dodd had recommended. Just giving him kind of a heads up, kind of a feeler, email out there, letting him know our interest to starting something here in fall. Provided him some attachments and some basic concepts of the program. Didn't give him, I didn't want to overload him into where I'd scare him away, but told him I would be touching base, that, you know, if he wanted to get back with me, we could, but I did not hear back any response. So my marching orders here, the very first week, second week of August, will be getting in touch with him and seeing if we can make this happen here in this school year. If not, I do know Melanie McCarty and Robin Hart. They're individuals I've known for years. They are teachers in the science department at middle school. So I think that, you know, we can have some luck there, but I'd like to be able to
Well,
start with the high school and
yeah,
work there.
I bet, I bet Melanie would.
Yeah, she is very much into
Yeah.
her science.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think
Sure.
that they'd be real supportive of that. But we'll see if I can get, you know, get with Doug the very first of the school year. We need to pledge. It's actually, the pledge comes from the school, found out that a Tree City USA community that's been filed by the municipality cannot also file a tree campus grant. So it has to be filed and submitted and applied for by the school. So that's kind of the difference there. But I'll get with him here and we'll see if we can do it. We just need to, by the fall, make the pledge and then we'll build the program. And then we'll implement that over the school year. I'm hoping that his curriculum that they already have will meet a lot of that curriculum piece. But then we'll work on developing an Arbor Day celebration and education program event in the spring. And then that should give us qualified. And then I'd like to just keep building on that. You know, in the years to come. On that. And then here for new business, just met with the marketing representative of IMPA. IMPA is our electric provider. They contract with us, partner with us through our electric department. Craig Switzer, electric department supervisor, and I met with her last week. Very talented writer. She actually did an article on the Tree City USA the last year. And I thought she did a wonderful job, and she did that completely on her own. She really didn't have a lot of data as far as kind of what was involved with the application and review process. So I've sent that information to her, so she will be kicking out another article somewhere in August. She said maybe September at the latest, and then there'll be, hopefully, she said, a 3rd edition coming out later this fall. They're having some problems with their printer, but they're hoping that they'll be able to get 2 more newsletters out. So every utility customer for the town of Pendleton for electric water that goes out in their utility bills gets a copy of that.
Oh,
So
good.
if you are in a utility customer and you don't receive that, let me know and I can give her your mailing address. So she's going to do the Tree City USA coming up, and then her plans are for the fall is to hit more on the tree care management aspect, and then also doing some improvements and enhancements to our current substation for our electric department, and then also here, I don't know if you've seen some electrical work here on the park by the playground,
Yeah.
but we're going to have some special events that are going to be a little bit more to the north. So for a Fall Festival and Heritage Fair, we'll be able to have more electric connections there by the gazebo. So they will have that completed by September. And she's going to incorporate that with some pictures of our special events there.
Good.
So, yeah, so we will have some coverage there, just promoting the community is their goals for this newsletter, so. So it's neat that they specialize, they do one for the entire state, and then they also do for individual communities.
I always enjoy reading the info.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think she said 60 communities. that she
Really?
Works with and writes up things for, so I thought she was very, very busy, very, very sweet, so. Farmers market, we had the booth last week, it was pretty hot, that was another thing.
Yes, it was.
I forgot all about it. I was mowing.
You wanna come and just
I-
sweat it and, yeah.
I had to work.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna do it again on, the 10th of August, so do the second Saturday in August. If you wanna come in, you can pop in for an hour or half hour, come. We had several, young children that came through and some young adults. Some came in and they asked, just some, questions, kind of, what the urban forestry does. I think that, I know Joe, Scott and I had talked about, we would like to relocate and be kind of on that curve there and give us a little bit more space to maybe have some small activities. So some thoughts that came up and, do think between now and the next couple of weeks, if something comes up that you think that wouldn't be, too complicated of an activity. The kids really loved those activity books that Carol found. Those went like hotcakes. I
Mhm.
think I was out of those by 10:30, I think. So I started handing out the coloring sheets instead. They worked well as well, but those booklets were adorable. Had little stickers in it and, they really appreciated it.
Good.
So we'll continue to do, hand out those. I need to get more crowns and I'm gonna get more of those booklets. But I was thinking too, is maybe more interactive activities. I brought some sidewalk chalk, but then I thought, I didn't want to, interfere with the pedestrian traffic that came there. So we're thinking maybe more over to the side, we can maybe have some of the kids draw some trees, or maybe we can draw some trees to kind of get it started, let them draw a bird or a squirrel or something that they might want to do. And then also we were thinking about some face painting, something very simple. Steve showed Neat, I believe, was kind of backup at the fall festival. She did it free. Just kind of donated her time. Carol said that we can get some, face painting materials easily online and then have it to where they may have like 5 different, whether it's a tree or a leaf or something that's simple that they can pick from, pop in the seat, get it painted, and then go on.
Where's the booth located, like from the museum?
So it's right by
At
the duck barn.
Oh, okay.
So we were just east of the duck barn, but we're thinking right on that curve. is
Yeah.
where We'll set up so we can put a tent and a booth.
In the
In that
grass,
grass?
in the
Yeah.
In the
grass, and
grass.
then the pavement could be used for the kids' stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Chalk.
Yeah.
I thought of another thing that might work. I- If we had a sheet that was for them to take with them,
Mhm.
and we had it so it looks very official, and it's for them to do a tree inventory of their property.
Okay.
And think of it, from a kid's, not little, it could work for anybody really, but just have them describe the tree, maybe draw a picture of the tree. But, and even, we could make it something that they could be encouraged to mail it
Mhm.
to us. And we could use them in our Facebook page to show them.
Yeah.
We could, I guess we could
Awesome.
judge them and have a,
Contest,
But-
yeah.
What is your Facebook page?
no, I mean the Pendleton Urban Forestry Facebook page.
What is it? What's the address?
Oh, for the Facebook page, I can get that to you. Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, it's, I think Pendleton Urban Forestry Committee is what it's under. But, yes.
you mean what, go under group? Look it up under the group?
Mhm, mhm, Yeah.
But that would be something interactive, but not that they do right while they're
Right
there.
Yeah.
But it would
That's a
help
good
them
idea.
make them think about trees at
Maybe
their
we can-
house.
Put in a,
Let's see if I can find
what
it.
do you call those apps, those tree identification apps,
Mhm.
right, the free one, maybe you can
Mhm.
put that information, maybe they can, try to identify it that way.
I don't know much about. So
Size.
how do I find it?
I thought it would be really neat
The
too,
whole
that
thing in there.
Noblesville and some of the communities are
Yeah,
starting to
that
do the big tree list. Where communities can,
Okay,
throw
well,
in pictures of their
you're
big
right,
trees.
Calvin.
And, we can have some information on that too, so,
Mhm.
yeah. I like that idea, Joe.
It's a good idea.
And we could have, another thing we can do is, at some other point in time, is have people, would, what you just said, was that take photographs of their trees and submit them?
Oh, well, yes, they like the big tree one or whatever, yes.
So if they submit them to our Facebook page, that we can just show pretty fall trees. Or people can just in the comments, put pictures
Thank
of
you.
their trees.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good,
Just to get
especially
people
like
to start
fall and
thinking about,
spring.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's an interaction.
yeah, get people more involved in
Mhm.
Yeah.
it. Good idea.
Remember in the fall when the park would be full of kids doing their leaf
Oh, yeah.
collections? There'd be a whole bunch of kids
I
trying to
can
find the right
remember,
leaves.
I can remember going down to the park and getting my leaves from my leaf collection. That's been a long time ago.
I thought it would be fun too, for an activities, farmer's market, but maybe next summer, one of the activities that Sherry does at the park, we could do something with the urban forestry.
Yeah.
Whether it's, planting a tree or, just, kind of a little hour exercise or
Mhm.
something. I thought that would be neat, or.
Kind of like what Julie did
Pruning.
with the trees.
Mhm. You say Julie?
Julie, you know how she gave us the
Yes,
spruce
yes,
trees that we
yes.
gave away Saturday?
Yeah.
Norwegian spruce. I don't know
Yeah.
how many she gave us.
She
A
had a
dozen,
ton,
10?
she had a ton of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had it left over from the Father's
Father's
Day
Day.
Mhm.
event, so, yeah. Cool. Yeah, if you think of any more ideas, let me know. I just thought, it'd be nice, because I think that when you see literature or you see a booth, sometimes you don't know they're selling something, or they get,
Mhm.
and, once they know that, oh, everything's free, then that, they were.
Yeah.
Maybe we can rent a tree costume, because I know somebody that's really good at wearing costumes.
It better not be 90 degrees, I would have to say that.
She is our awesome Frosty the Snowman at Christmas.
Oh,
at the hot tub on the
really?
park. Oh my gosh, she is so good. You would make an awesome tree.
You are so talented.
My found out after this all came about, my dad's cousin was 40 years in Mickey Mouse.
Oh,
And I thought, well, it must have been something I was like.
It's just in your blood. You can't help
Yes, a
yourself.
genetic thing.
she interacts with the kids. It's just
Yeah.
like magic with these little kids.
There you go. They're a lot of fun. For the fall, we have some fall tree plantings that we have planned. We are working with the homeowners along Elm Street that have lost trees.
Oh, yeah.
So asking them if they want replacement trees, we gotta be real careful not to get up into the storm drain that we just had installed. We've got some yard drains, lateral drains that kind of go off of that. But some of them, lost several trees. So two in particular, one of them has actually already replaced their trees. The town is reversing them. But they had wanted to plant like some pear trees and so forth, and had experience in doing that. So that's already been resolved, but we have, messed this up again, arborvitae, or arborvitae.
Arboretum.
Arborvitae. Arbor.
What?
Oh, the kinds of trees like the.
Yeah.
Arbor-
It's like a.
Arborvitae, yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
arborvitae.
Yeah. Arborvitae, arborvitae.
Arborvitae.
Maybe that's it.
I think it's
Arborvitae.
Oh, yeah.
arborvitae.
Yeah.
That sounds better. Arborvitae.
But they provide a lot of good screening, you know, for property and natural screening water. So those two particular homes have.
These kind of,
plants. So,
those kind of.
yeah.
So they're a good tree.
Oh, is
They're
that
a
what
good
they're-
tree to-
Arrowhead has along his
Yes.
property?
No,
And they
it
seem to
doesn't.
have a good long.
They're like a evergreen.
Evergreen,
like kind of
yeah.
evergreen.
They're a good screen.
So we'll be planting, I'd say, probably around 30 of those,
Arborvitae.
along that area. So that's that railroad bed that runs from Elm Street down to Main Street.
Yeah,
And then we'll also have those trees that we have lost. We have some on State Street and then some on Broadway. Some trees we had to remove, and then maybe the one on John Street, we'll replace with the.
there was a
smaller public
giant one removed on the, town right away last week. I think it was huge. It was the block between, I think between Elm and Walnut. I think, yeah, it was right down the street from me. It was huge. And I think it was so, but now there's a big gap there. I mean, you
know,
really
yeah.
notice, you know, but I don't know. It was huge. It took them a long time. But it was good because it was really getting,
Take 100 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
I bet it was there when Thomas Pendleton was. It was huge.
Yeah. That's a shame.
But it,
Yeah.
that happens.
That probably is a tree
That's why you have to
your
keep replanting.
forefather tied horse to.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Yeah, so I think it's important that, you know, we do some sort of planting each year. And we've got also some cemetery trees that were lost as well. So they've got some, I'm gonna meet with Aaron, he's the sexton there at the cemetery. And so kind of discuss kind of where he's wanting the trees to be replaced.
Did they lose the
Aaron-
trees at the cemetery because of age or because of the weather?
Yeah, because of age.
Age.
Yeah. Mhm. Some of them just started losing limbs up at the front and then I think some in the back and,
The old part?
well, not.
No.
Oh, really?
Actually, on the west side.
Really?
Mm-hmm, yeah, so I said, yeah, we can meet up and we'll figure out where we'll do some plantings there. They also have some screening they want to provide from the maintenance barn for the property owners that are there to the south as
Right.
well. So we're gonna get some type of shrub, and low maintenance that we can fill in there. So yeah, so that's coming up here. And then the last thing we have kind of for new business, we have been contacted by the Indiana DNR department there. Rachel reached out and there is a community and urban forestry symposium that's coming up this year that is going to be held at the Crown Hill Cemetery there in Indiana. Their arboretum, their grounds
Yeah.
there, their facility. It's gonna be December the 3rd and 4th. More details is supposed to be coming. And so as soon as I get that information, or registration information, I'll let you know. If you'd like to attend, the town will pay for your registration fee. And also a part of that, they want to have some discussions and presentations on recovery tree efforts from natural disasters, tornadoes, whatnot, storms. And then they want to have a panel discussion as well. So they asked if we'd be of interest to present one of those 4 presentations. So I had let her know that I'm going to be getting with those that were part of the project, Rachel Christensen, Carrie Tosher, where she works now at Crown Hill Cemetery, and then also Tammy from the foundation. Just want to make sure, since my part was with running the distribution center, when I worked at the park, it was minimal. So I want to make sure that they are involved in whatever way they want.
Right.
If they want to be in part of the presentation or just giving input to get into the presentation. So I will get with them here this next week and then see if they're interested. And then if not, I feel like that we can give an adequate coverage. I feel like that project was pretty, big, substantial project for, our town. And if we can do anything to help other communities and their recovery efforts, I think that would be kind of us. So I've kind of tentatively committed. I just want to get back with her as far as how that will look.
What does CUF stand?
Oh, what was that?
CUF symposium, what is CUF?
Oh, Community and Urban Forestry.
Okay,
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So that's something that they've just brought back this year, and that'll be held each year. I'm sure there'll be a lot of, speaking, presentations, education topics, for those that are in the field, whether they're on the tree board, or a, department of forestry. They also get a lot of kind of certified arborists that come to these events as well. But yeah,
Very
so,
good.
I'll keep you posted on that and let you know. I'm assuming that probably by our August meeting, we'll have more information as far as the details of that conference. Also, I think I left them in my, yep, I left them on my desk, but I can run back there and get that. She mailed to us 2 more tree board booklets. So I know some of you have those. I think Jeanette, you had one.
yeah, I had fun
Introduced
from,
it to us and then we got
Yeah.
additional copies and she sent 2 more this week. So if you don't have one, it's just kind of what the role that the urban forestry, plays within, a community and just kind of different facets of the board. So if you'd like to have one, say Dr. Lau, I'm sure you don't have one.
No, I got one.
You've got
They
one?
sent me one.
Oh, okay, they sent one to you directly. Okay, maybe, did you get one
I don't
too
think
because
so.
of that? Okay, well, Joe, I'll get one to you. I'm thinking Carrie and Carol Hannah, I know you have one.
I think I do, yeah.
They sent me one. I took out it today.
Oh, okay,
I don't know where I got mine from. It must have been,
I'll check.
yeah, I think maybe what, a year ago or so.
Yeah,
they
I know,
shared it with
yeah.
us. We're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
they're really
Yeah.
nice. They're from
Yeah.
Arbor Day Foundation.
right,
Mhm.
It'll be nice at that symposium that Carrie Tosher will be there,
Yeah.
since she was a huge part
Oh,
of
my
our
goodness, she
recovery
was.
program.
I didn't realize she worked at Ground Hill.
Yeah, she went there
Oh,
when she was
wow.
DNR.
She left DNR maybe
It's been 2
2
years,
years ago.
Really?
probably.
It would be 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years, because it was a vacant department for about a year.
Yeah.
When they started. the
Well,
building
she-
and rebuilding.
They've got to find, they got a good one then. Yes, me. I mean,
Yeah.
just how she helped us. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, she ran it like it was her hometown.
mhm.
Mhm.
Like her, Rachel, and then Tammy and Sue, they took care of developing all the volunteer groups
organizing.
and so
Oh, I
forth,
know.
so,
It was, yeah,
pretty spectacular.
it was.
Coordinating all those volunteer groups
Oh,
and getting
yeah.
it all.
Yeah,
Mhm.
From all over.
Mhm.
The only thing, the only other piece, this is anything on the agenda, we've also got an announcement this past week that the Department of Division of Forestry, they have, come out now with the community and urban forestry grant that they've had in the past. They weren't sure if they're going to release that this coming fall or it's gonna come over the winter. They decided to go ahead and kick that out. Application date is September the 4th. So I communicated a little bit with Rachel. She said it's going to be an annual grant opportunity. I'm not quite for sure, just kind of taking a look at it. More of their key thing is kind of long-term growth and development for the department. I'm leaning towards working and building that, because you have to work plan. You also have to have tree plantings involved to a certain degree. It could be staff education, it could be tree inventory, but one of their biggest piece of it is public outreach and education piece to the program, the tree plantings, and then kind of more management and care. So we could even do things as far as updating our ordinance, it could be updating our management plan, all of our other supporting documents like approved tree lists and so forth. So we can use that. It's a dollar for dollar match. It's a maximum of, well, minimum of $1,000 ask, $25,000. So with our match, it would be a project from 2000 to 50. So I would like to, if it's okay with all of you, wait, not try to throw something together for September, see how our tree campus program goes. Maybe kind of involve that piece for the education piece of it, but then also kind of work as far as more of management and just think about what you think our biggest needs are.
Right.
I can send that out to you all for what this year looks like. I can send you those deliverables and kind of the guidance for that. So if there's things you think that, you know, we would be a great help for us to kind of start, you know, placing a focus on, I'd like to build that this year and be ready for next.
So would our match, would come out of the electric fund?
It kind of depends. So, it can be, say, if we wanted to match with, say, maybe a community foundation grant, we can use that. We can use our tree fund grant and fundraising. And then some of it, like say, if it was with our tree inventory, it just depends. We got to make sure that it's kind of electric related.
Right.
With it. So it would probably be, to some degree, we could pull from it, but then the other would come up.
Right.
So yes, so I will send that out to you all.
Good.
But I think that if we were a bigger department, we would probably put something together, but I think time-wise and financial commitments and so forth, that we have for the town, we'll need to wait for.
I think that's a good idea, really.
And then I think we would have a year and a half, it seemed like in the time frame to expend from it. Because I think that this round has to have everything wrapped up like in the 26th first. So, but I was excited that they're bringing it back, so I think it will be a great, you know, opportunity for us to take it.
Sounds like it.
Okay, anyone have anything else? Okay, meeting dismissed.